And we're live. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? I got to look around my camera. I got a new camera set up here, folks. So if you see me looking around the corner like this, you know what's going on. Hey, before we get started with the show, I do want to send out prayers and good thoughts to Lyle Stokes. We call him Pops, but he's more of a brother to me. Lyle, if you're listening, he's probably got other things to do. But if he watches the replay, mine and Sheila's and everybody else in the catfish community and the crappie community from Panfish Nation, our hearts go out to you in prayers. I can't imagine what it would be like to lose an older brother, and I know you were real fond of Mark. So God bless your brother, and may time heal the pain. Also, anybody else out there who needs prayers and stuff, you know that we're always thinking of you. There's a lot of people out there in the catfish community that need them. I also want to thank everybody for all the kind words, messages, thoughts, inquiries about my wife. She's doing better. She's at about 80% right now. She's got some physical therapy and stuff without getting into details, but I just thought it was only fair for me to give you guys some of the details into the life, since I had to not only ask Dave to reschedule, but ask you guys to be understanding and coming back this week. So I really appreciate you all. So let's do some shout outs. Let's see who's in chat here, guys. Let's see. Hold on a second. My list isn't working. There we go. Hey, we got a 15 months crew member. Look at that. Crappie Dave Fish on 15 months. Welcome, thank you, my friend. I appreciate the channel support. It helps make filling that tank up and getting everything we need to go fishing a little easier. I see Adventures with Robin C out there. She's a channel member. Thank you for your support, Robin. Hopefully you're feeling better too, dear. How you doing, Miss Annette? Miss Annette's catfishing in the house. Big Wrench Catfishing. How you doing, sir? There's my buddy Eric Massey, Jig Company. What's going on, Eric? There's Chad Nolte. What's up, Chad? Fishing with Jeff Beal. How you doing, Jeff? Freddie's Outdoor Adventures crew member. I look forward to shaking Freddie's hand at CADCon. That's right, folks. We'll get into that real quick for a second. There's Gabby Goose. How you doing, dear? Say hello to your father. I think I saw his name in here. But Gabby, it's always great to see you in here. There's Michelle. It's all mine. Hopefully your kitchen remodel is getting good. JG Hill Studios. I hear he's got a studio with a drum set. Maybe there'd be some music coming from Chad. That'd be pretty cool. Parker Pursuit with a 73-pound blue cat this weekend. Way to go, Parker. That's a big fish. I know our buddy Richard got that big monster, but yours was no little fish. Said, way to go, bud. We got to talk. I got to come down there and fish. QC Fishing. What's up, Brian? How you doing? There's my buddy Troy at Real and Virtual Outdoors. I was watching Troy do some online bass fishing the other day. We were having a lot of fun, just chewing the fat. Small Water Charters, who was my guest last week or the week before last on the show. What's going on, John? How you doing? Congratulations. Hey, Freddie, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, love you, brother. Can't wait to hug you. Oh man, I wish I could run faster. I'm just kidding, Freddie. Thanks for the support, bud. Team Smurf, Eric Fishing. What's going on, Eric? How you doing? Team Snagged Whiskers. How you doing, Dustin? What's up, buddy? There's crew member Tim Molina. Tim, I hope you looked up that whiskey trail for your trip to CatCon next week. There's Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? How you doing? Wayne Hosk in the house. How you doing, Wayne? I've been seeing Wayne all over the place. There's my buddy Bobcat Outdoors. How you doing, Bobcat? Let's make sure David Smith in the house. El Catfish Grande just showed up. How you doing? Hey, there's Keith over at Fish and Stuff. What's up, Keith? Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Let me shout out Justin. Let me shout out Cindy if she's listening. If you're watching on the big screen, Betty, how you doing, Brandon? If you're watching on the big screen or watching in the background, Katie and Dockery, how you doing? Also, Cindy, prayers go out to you, to Mrs. Stokes. How you doing, Mom? We're thinking about both of you, so we didn't leave you out. So, oh, look at this. I got all sorts of people here. We got Adventures with Robin C for a 2-month membership. 21 months. D, get hooked on fishing. Thank you very much. Happy to hear Sheila's doing better. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for posting those mile markers. That does absolutely go to the channel every time you use one of them. It's kind of a freebie that YouTube gives you, so it's appreciated when you use them. So always get in here and check on them when you come in. All right. Welcome to the Catfish and Crappie podcast. My name is Mark. Let me thank my channel supporters here real quick. I need to shout out Fishbrain. Check them out before summer comes. Get you a pro membership. I'm telling you, they'll show you where the fish are, what the fish are biting on at that time of the year. It's a pretty cool database that you can use. I need to thank Colton over at Multibar. I need to thank JT over at Port Barrington Marina. Also want to give a big shout out to Uncle Lou's Tackle. Thank you very much, Uncle Lou. And last but not least, I want to thank Amped Outdoors. I got some new electronics that I'm going to be running off of that lithium battery that I can't wait to use. Keep your eye out for a lithium battery video that's going to be out here in like the next 2 weeks, I think. We're going to get started with all of that stuff. Hopefully I can get that out before CatCon. That was a mouthful, Dave. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you, Mark?
How am I doing?
You're doing good.
I'm asking Dave. Dave's a professional. He's been doing this for a long time. Mr. Dave Kranz, everybody. How you doing? All right, Dave. So, Dave, you own a local bait shop, and I've been going to that bait shop actually for quite some time. I kind of go in there with my head down, know what I want, get my minnows, my wax worms in the winter, and kind of walk out the door. You're always busy and stuff. I understand it. I did purchase my Costa sunglasses with readers in them from you, Dave.
There you go.
Those are great. Those are the greatest thing in the world. Those are like sacred to me. I keep them in the case. I always carry them from the truck to the boat, from the boat to the truck. And I can't tell you how nice it is to be able to tie knots and not have to have 2 pairs of glasses on the boat.
That is a big benefit to have those. And Costa is a great product. I've sold them for a lot of years, and they do a great job. They have a great warranty on them. And like you said, they're a quality product.
Those polarized lenses are ridiculous too. I mean, up here, some of the water, if I'm up at like Lake Mendota where the water's usually now a lot clearer, I can see 30 feet deep with those things. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they call it beyond polarization, and it's yeah, they've got the technology down. They're great lens, great product.
Great stuff. So let's start with, hey, Uncle Jeep, how you doing? QC Brian came in here, Creole Catfish, and I cannot forget Creole. There's my buddy KP from Takedown Catfish and what's going on. Big wrench in the house. Also, Uncle Jeep, how you doing? Maybe I'll get to meet Uncle Jeep at Catfish Conference. I'm looking forward to this. The Catfish Plus Crappie Conference, that is. So let's go back to the beginning, Dave. How'd you start fishing? What are some of your earliest memories?
Boy, I think like many of your listeners, and probably yourself, it was relatives. My father and my grandfather are my earliest memories of who I got to fish with. Going down to the Fox River, I grew up in West Dundee and lived on the Fox River and ratted around down there between Elgin and Algonquin my whole life. I hunted and fished and trapped that whole area, and what a great place to grow up. And I just loved it. But we went on vacations too. We'd go up to Wisconsin, and we used to fish up on Lower Clear Lake up by Gordon, and went up there for year after year after year, going on family vacations, and always had a blast. But earliest memories, definitely grandfather and father.
Yeah, the same here. I think that goes everywhere. As the people in chat know, I'm part of that project that Lyle has, Panfish Nation, and to this day, I say, panfish with bluegills, any kind of sunfish, even green sunfish, whatever. That's America's fish. That's where we all start. That's where you get your kids involved, and we'll get into your involvement with the young people, with the youth of today in a few minutes. But it just holds such a dear place in my heart. I do. And that's one of the things that actually brought you back to my attention. Thank you for the super chat, Creel. He says he gave me $5 super chat for the bacon fund. Dave, if you don't know what that is, there's people here that think I love bacon for some reason, probably because I eat it once a day. See, we're a close community here. Everybody knows everybody. We all start with panfish, whether it's panfish or catfish. Catfish is one of the early ones to carp. What brought me back to what brought you to my attention to have on the show are your shorts on your channel, and the links in the description, people. So you want to go over and give Dave a sub, and he's just starting his YouTube channel up. He's been posting a lot of shorts, and they're probably some of the more informative shorts that you're going to do. Not only is he talking about stuff that he sells in his bait shop, and he does own a real nice bait shop, but he's telling you how to use this stuff in a from years of experience, man. I don't know how else to say it. So I don't know how. So mega kudos. I know. So make sure you guys go down to the description and you get that. So you doing any ice fishing this year?
I have a couple times just on Crystal Lake, and I'll stop on most of the time Tuesdays, and I'll catch some bluegills or crappies. And I did a YouTube on one of the fish tacos, and it's fun to go there and catch some crappies or gills, come home, fillet them up, cook them, and eat them. And normally it's a lot of wild game in our house, whether that's fish or I'm a hunter, so we eat a lot of venison. Tomorrow will be Taco Tuesdays with venison tacos. I actually did a YouTube on the venison tacos too.
That sounds so delicious, man. We need to talk. I need some advice on where to go hunting. I haven't had I've been telling people here online and some of the online chats and stuff that son of immigrants, my parents came over. They were busy working 2 factory jobs, 6 days, 7 days a week. So I really want to get out hunting. I want to get out squirrel hunting this year. Maybe you can help me get started. Find some.
We can try on the deer and the waterfowl. McHenry County Conservation District has a wonderful program. I actually sat on McHenry County Conservation Board of Trustees for 5 years. I've been off now about 3.5 years, but what a great program there for waterfowl and deer hunting. If they go to their McHenry County Conservation District site, they can look into that. And you do not have to be a resident to participate, but if you're a non-resident, the fees are higher. But have your listeners look into that. But yeah, there's finding a place to hunt is probably harder than the hunting itself nowadays.
Well, I went on to the Illinois Department of Resources site, and I went to their hunt planner, right? And I'm like, well, we're going to start simple. We're going to start with either like squirrel, probably not rabbit. I don't have dogs for rabbits, but squirrel hunting was something that I wanted to try. And the season was from someday in October or October, I think, until February 15th. So until, what is it, Wednesday. But then everything in McHenry County in Northern Illinois is already ended. Just around December, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I need to get it planned ahead a year. Maybe after talking to you, that'll help.
Yeah, we can talk about that. And there's a lot more opportunities if you go west out to Joe Davies County, out towards Galena, and a lot of parks there that you can go and daily hunts and walk in. And the fishing and hunting regulations, which I have at my store, list all those places in the back. So next time you're in, you'll have to grab one of those, and I can show you some of the better ones. Was it Apple River State Park out there? Yep.
I'd won a lottery for one of the turkey tags out there.
Oh, yeah.
And my father got sick, so I ended up giving it to a buddy of mine. And he says he hunted for 3 hours and he bagged a turkey, turned around and came home the same day. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It can be that good. It's just if I was ever going to do a hunting show on whitetails, and I'm a passionate whitetail hunter also with a bow, I don't hunt them with a gun, but it would be called the right 30 seconds, because that's what it is. It's not all the time and the effort and the work that you put in and the time in the tree, which I love, because I love doing wildlife photography and seeing all these critters that are out there, but it is the right 30 seconds.
Cool. Let me thank Richard over at Fish and Freedom. He's the one that got an 88-pound blue cat on the Mississippi River yesterday. It was quite the fish to see. Pretty cool. He said, need some biscuits with that bacon, Creole. You can get another $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Richard. We got Palmetto Cats. He's helping with CatCon in 2 weeks. He says, fish tacos. He's a fan of fish tacos. Creole's posting your link up. Yeah, guys, make sure you go out there and give him a sub. Make sure you watch his content so those stick to. If anything, even for the shorts, but I expect a lot of good professional grade content coming from Dave, knowing some of the stuff. You're on the WeFishASA podcast, right, David?
I am the creator of the WeFishASA podcast. I came up with that concept. It's going to be July 3rd. This summer is going to be 10 years that I came up with the idea. We are going to start our 8th year of programming on June 16th on there. And when Steve Sarley, he came to a 4th of July picnic I had at my house, and he came walking across the lawn, and I said, Steve Sarley had a radio show, was on some television in the market early in the early days. But I said, how'd you like to get back on the radio? It's not really radio, it's a podcast. His response was, what's a podcast? And that was 10 years ago. And there wasn't many then. And I told him, I said, I don't know, it's on demand. You can use any device you have to get the content and listen to it 24/7. I really don't know much about it, but we're going to look into it. And I did. and it's brought to you by the proud industry members of the American Sport Fishing Association. So all the sponsors we have are ASA members, and glad to do it. It's been fun giving back to our industry and just trying to leave it better than we found it.
Absolutely. And I've been a kind of a fanboy. I listen to podcasts every night, and yours is definitely one of them. It's definitely in the rotation, and you and Starley do a great job. It's quintessential Chicago, I have to say. Is it not? It is Chicago radio, and it's not a bad thing. Chicago radio is pretty much what I grew up on. It's what, got me into listening to podcasts in the first place. It's why I'm here now and why I take this show and do it on the audio. So, and if you are listening on the audio, I do want to remind you too that I will make sure that the links are all going to be down there in the description. And I can't stress enough, check out David's stuff. I don't mean to keep saying that, but I'm a big fan of David's. And I do want to thank Crappie Day Fish On for the $5 super chat. Says Richard's got biscuits, gotta have gravy. Thank you very much, Crappie Day. Thank you very much. See, I got good people support me. I love every single one of them.
Yes, you do.
And Parker Pursuits had a comment here. He said Illinois has giant bucks, and Jerry knows what he's doing. I've seen him get some big Missouri and Iowa deer, Iowa bucks. He's no joke, so he knows what he's talking about as well. I don't even need a big one. Dave, here's the problem, and I know this is a fishing show, but I've been on a hunting kick lately. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think I could get my wife to touch venison. Can you believe that?
Well, it's pretty darn good. It's free range beef. Basically, they're eating acorns and corn fed and soybeans and everything that we have to give them. Apple orchards that we have in Illinois, and I hunt Southern Illinois. I have the pleasure of being able to hunt Pike County and some big ones down there, and I don't just take any buck anymore. The bucks have to be 4.5 years old. I do shoot does every year, 1 or 2, because we do eat them. Grind them in the back straps and get some sausages made by Smokehouse out of Rockford. Does a great job there. I used to have a trailer there. Unfortunately, it's so busy for him right now. He couldn't put the trailer by my store this year. We were taking in 600 deer a season for him, and that's a lot. And he was worried I would bury him, but they make a great product, and it's all good stuff. And whether it's fishing, hunting, trapping, anything in the outdoors, bird watching, wildlife photography, I love it all, and I enjoy the outdoors. And that's why I'm in the field. That's why I called the YouTube Dave Kranz Living the Wild Outdoors instead of just Dave Kranz Outdoors, because I wanted to include all those other wildlife photography, wild game cooking, all those type of things. I think add a lot to the segments.
100%. We got a couple of guys out here that are really into photography, and they take some tremendous like pictures, whether it's deer or bison at some of the state reserves over there in Missouri, and I'm just starting to get into it, at least on the video end. We'll see if I can pull it off this year, but I really have I'm jealous of people who can take good pictures, David. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the footage that I get on the turkeys and things like that in my yard, and even I did hummingbirds, I did some of the chipmunks running around my place, and it's awesome, and just have fun and get to share that with the customers that come into my store and Dave's Bait and Tackle, and I am in Crystal Lake. I don't know if you mentioned that, but I've been on that intersection since where I'm at now. I'm 34 years, since 1989, but I've been on that intersection since 1981. I was on 31, moved on to the 176 part of the intersection of 31 and 176. So over 4 decades there, I have seen customers come in that don't have kids, get married, have kids, and now their kids are bringing their own kids in. So it makes me feel old.
Well, forget feeling old. That's like some of the, I'm getting up there in years. I ain't gonna lie. When I hear stories like that, and I know this is gonna sound kind of cringy. It warms my heart to hear that people are carrying on, the traditions like my grandfather handed on to me. Real quick, I don't think you know this. Like I said, my grandparents came over as immigrants, and my grandfather was in charge of babysitting me. So his idea of babysitting me was 2 things. One was sitting me on a bar stool at the corner tavern downtown, right, which my mom didn't like too much. And the other one was drag me out to the Kankakee River, go carp and catfishing out there. So That's where I picked it up from him. So if my grandfather's listening up there in heaven, I want to thank him. I can't thank him enough because he's given me a passion to last me a lifetime. Setting hooks and crossing eyes. What's going on, Ryan? He says, what's the name of his store? I think you just said that, didn't you, Dave? What's the name of your store?
I did. It's Dave's Bait and Tackle in Crystal Lake. It's 4419 Route 176 in Crystal Lake. And right off the intersection, I'm in a log cabin building. And if you come in there, it's very deceiving. It looks kind of small from the front, but you walk in and there's 2,000 square feet of all the right tackle, everything. Whether you're fishing catfish, crappie, muskie, bass, walleye, I've got all of that in there. So.
And you got all the good brands. What are some of the brands that you are really fond of carrying in your store?
Well, St. Croix for rods, Daiwa for reels, Costa for sunglasses, as you already mentioned, and then all the other Big Bite, Sunline. There's just so many that are good. Kitech, Smithwick, all the Berkeley and Garcia products. Boy, Zoom, we carry a lot of Zoom. And I've been doing a lot of the shorts and picking products and working on trying to cover all the bases and you know, keep trying to keep up with it, trying to keep up with what's new. And then also keeping the products in stock that are old standbys that sometimes people forget about. They don't keep in, you know, everything new sells. And I get that, but you know, there's guys that come in that want those products that they have to have. They're going to continue to use, and they're going to buy the new ones. But yeah, we got nearly $500,000 worth of inventory, so it's full.
I'm a firm believer that if you're showing them something different, you're going to up your odds. And if a bait falls out of style, you know, 5 years, you're going through a bunch of fish. Not too many fish besides, you know, like flathead and some of the fish like that live very much longer than that. You can be pretty productive with a bait that's fallen out of style. I'm definitely a firm believer in that. And I know a lot of the guys in that fish for big walleyes on Lake Erie will say the same things. I talked to a couple of them, and they're naming off baits that I've never, ever heard of. Old stuff, and they're paying big bucks for that stuff on eBay too. So
yeah, the fish have never seen it.
Yep, they've never seen it, so they want to kill it dead. Ryan says, do you have suckers, Dave? He's a flathead fisherman, big time.
Right now we have medium suckers, and they're 4 to 6 inches, and they're $1.49. But most of the times of the year I have small, medium, large, and then in the fall for the muskie guys, I have the big muskie suckers, which are generally will hit both sides of a 5-gallon pail. And some of the flathead guys like to use those too. But most of the time they're buying 4 to 6s in the summer, and then the kind of a special run large is generally around 8 or 9, but fatter bodies. And that this time of year I don't have those right now.
How often are you getting those in stock? And the reason I ask is, let's say, you know, a flathead fisher like myself or Ryan call, you know, a week ahead of time before we're going fishing, say, hey Dave, can you get me, you know, half a dozen 12-inch or something like that? Is that something you're able to do?
Not the full time a year round. Most of the time they only have what they call a muskie sucker in the fall, and sometimes other types of the year, but anywhere between a 2 3/4 and 8 or 9 inch sucker, we can most of the time get year round, but it's been hard to get those. I think people have to remember that all the bait now is not wild harvest. It's all raised. And the suckers we get come out of South Dakota, the golden roach minnows and the toughy fatheads come out of Arkansas. Some of the other fatheads do come out of South Dakota also, but nothing is wild harvest. So they try to keep it consistent and fish farmed where you have the products, but like everything else, supply and demand. And so many people the last couple of years have got into fishing. It's been tough to get bait at times. And right now, especially in Illinois, you see bait and tackle stores that close and nobody reopens. So it's kind of scary. Where are we going to be in 10 or 15 years? And as the bait dealers age out, where are people going to go? New people need to get involved, and you need to have somebody. It is a 7-day-a-week business. It is retail, and you need to have people that have a passion for our industry and want to work it and supply. I've always thought of myself as a educator of the outdoors, and then I sell the related products to make a living. But I love it. I wouldn't be doing it now. I'm almost 64 years old, and I didn't think I'd still be there now. I thought I'd retire early, but I still love it. So going to hang in there for a while.
Well, I was gonna bring something up like that. And hey, there's Luke Henges. What's going on, Luke? How you doing? He says he's ready for Wisconsin. Me too, but he works. He's got a I think he's got a partnership with Chewy up in Minnesota. They got a bait shop. They just opened up there, a real good one. But I did want to give you mega kudos because you can go into one of these big box stores. We're not going to name any names, but we all know what I'm talking about. And they rebrand everything into their brand, and you go in there and you're seeing the same stuff over and over again. Where I go into your shop, Dave, and I'm seeing the baits that you're hearing about in tournaments, you're reading about online, you're reading about in magazines, that you'd have to go online and actually sort out and find. Where I can go into your bait shop and hold that in my hand and know that even the silly things from a Phil float that I like. Yeah, I like the little 2¼ inch one weighted ones for crappie that I can't find anywhere. I walk into your shop, and if you got them, I know they're the right ones. They're not going to send me the right ones. So I can't stress enough, people, support the local places like Dave's in your area. If you're in this area, go give Dave a visit, and you'll be happy you did. The better they can serve you is driven by how often you're buying in their establishment. So that's all I can say. It's somatic or a symbiotic relationship between angler and business owner. Wouldn't you say that's correct, David?
Yeah, and it's fun. And the other part about that is having the high school and college guys that have worked for me, and a few retired guys over the years. I've had about 80 guys work for me. Most of them kids. Many of them are their first jobs. Lately, most of these kids have come out of the high school programs for bass fishing. They go on to colleges. They get the fish there. I have a passion for that. Illinois was the first state to have high school fishing. We have over 300 teams now. I think it's awesome that they have this opportunity to learn and interact with sponsors and at a professional level. You watch these kids on stage, and they're so impressive. And to have the opportunity to possibly go to college and get some of it paid for, what a gift.
Yeah, and doing it all with fishing, and another thing, a lot of the guys that I come in there and talk to that are working your counter, they know what they're doing too. They're not some kid off the street that's just selling things at the prices you tell them to sell at. They actually know where the fish are, what's going on. They're happy to give you as much info as they're willing to give you, if you know what I mean. And the usually I've been very satisfied with how they do. So again, now I know where you're getting those kids. You're getting from the high school fishing programs, right?
Some of them, and if they're not, they come in, they have a passion for it, and they love it, and they're trained. They're trained to do. We have a training process we go through, so they know how to do everything. I would love to get the kids after I've had them, how to answer the phone, customer service, handling credit cards, handling cash, sales techniques, everything that I get to teach these young guys. And it's great, but some of them have come in where they've been customers with their dads, and they're 10 years old, and they say, how old do you have to be to work here? And I say, you got to be 16. And they say, okay, I'm going to come back at 16 and I'm going to work here. And many of those kids that have said that to me, they have worked for me, and I hate to say it, but they're 30 and 40 somethings now. That's pretty crazy when you've been there 34 years, and you have a 10-year-old kid come in. They're 44 years old now.
Well, I guarantee, David, that you left your mark on their life. You know what I mean? I got a few mentors, and I keep talking about one gentleman named Edward Zink. He's passed away too. And to this day, everything from he used to pay me $1 to pour lead, make 50 caliber black powder rifle bullets. He used to pay us $1 around to taking us out in his little 14-foot ranker out on Lake Michigan and in 6-foot swells. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
A little backstory to that. I remember having like a half a gallon of Hawaiian punch before we got out there, and man, I chummed that water red like it was crazy. It was nuts. See, but it's memories like that, and people say that when you're gone, you're forgotten, but you're not. When you instill your experience and your knowledge in somebody, in something that they take a passion to, it's going to stay with them for a long time, and good for you for doing that. So for what it's worth, I think that's a great thing. And Parker Pursuit says, man, wish they had those fishing programs when I was in school. I was fortunate enough. I went to Maine West High School. I don't know if you know where that's at. And we did have a fishing club there, and we had a good time. That was always fun. Always a good time. So how did you get involved in the high school fishing?
I had a couple students that were going to the private school in Crystal Lake, and they were in the fishing program. They had, I think, 13 seniors in their class, or juniors and seniors that were on the fishing. They needed a coach and they needed a boat. They didn't have any of that. So I actually coached them. Prior to that, I had helped a team from Jacobs, and they needed some information on the chain. And I did not go out and fish with them, but I gave them information, where to go, what to do. They called me to confirm if they're in the right spots on practice days and things like that. And I've helped 5 teams over the course of the years, and all of them made it to state, 3 firsts and 2 seconds, and very proud of that. And it's fun. I did fish with the kids that went to I can't think of the name of the school. It's right downtown Crystal Lake. I think it's closed now, but it was a private school, and they were the smallest school in the state, and we won the sectional, and we had a blast fishing the chain south. And it's good. I like getting involved with that. Of course, now with the guiding, I guide on some southeast Wisconsin lakes, Delavan, Geneva. I'm pretty booked. I only guide Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I have past customers that take most of the dates. But I also fish Major League Fishing Toyota, so I love getting these guys out on the boat that work for me and show them some things that I have learned from fishing tournaments for decades, and it's a lot of fun. And it helps them come back and sell products in my store, because I increase their product knowledge. They learn it's a seminar on the water. When people go out with me fishing, that's what they describe it as, is that we go out for 6 or 7 or 8 hours. That, boy, I just had a seminar on the water with you.
And that's what you want to look for in a guide. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you are looking to hire a guide, people, talk to the guide beforehand. Find out if he's just going to take you out there and put a fish on the end of the line and hand you a reel, or is he going to show you what he's doing and tell you why he's doing it? If you're serious about the sport, you want to find somebody like that. There's no shame in hiring a guide either, especially if you're going on waters where you're traveling and you're not going to spend a lot of time in that area. You're going to want to have a good time. You want to get on some fish. There's no reason why you can't call some local guides and say, hey, listen, we're staying here the week. We're probably not coming back for at least a year. How about you take us and show us where you want to fish? And most, a lot of guides will either say yay or nay, but you got to ask them. Don't be that guy who gets on a boat and starts waypointing spots either. That's not a good thing. So there's my rant.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking about, right, Dave? It's
all that's not cool for people to take the spots, but what they don't realize is the fish are there now for a reason, and you're fishing with the baits you're using for a reason. And I've had clients tell me that too. Hey, why can't I went back out and I did the same thing we did 3 weeks later, and I didn't catch them. And well, they weren't there. They move, and you got to, I fished.
What's the difference? It was 3 weeks later. That's pretty much the difference. So.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a big proponent on keeping a logbook too, Dave. I've been keeping one for a few years now, and it's starting to get filled just now. I think I started one like 5 years ago, and just now it's starting to pay off. So when the best time to start a logbook, folks, out in chat or listening on a podcast, was yesterday. It's like planting a tree. Do that and grow your fishing knowledge database and go there. And if you happen to hire a guide, talk to him, see if he's willing to help, give you more data collected on where
I think that's the most important thing you can do, is keep a record of what you do. I have my records, and I do paper records. I don't do the apps, and it's so easy to do with the apps now, but I have done paper records since 1991. And before I go fish a tournament, when I used to fish local ones, I fished for several decades here on the Fox chain, Madison chain, Lake Geneva, Mississippi River up by La Crosse. And I would do what I call my head work. I'd get my records out and I would look and it's like, okay, this tournament is on June 6th. And I would look at all the dates I fished up there, June 4th through, or June 1st through June 14th. I know what the winds were. I know what the temperatures were. I know what I caught. Every fish I've ever caught in my life since 1991, I have a record of it if it's over 3 pounds. Fish that make a difference in tournaments. And I do that. I started fishing Major League Fishing Toyota 5 years ago. I've been the last several years in the upper 20 and 30%. So, these guys that I'm fishing against get to fish a lot more than I do.
They do.
I'm competing against guys that are on the water. Their boats get 300 hours a year. My boat gets, 30 or 40 hours a year at best. So There is a difference. Time on the water is the most important thing you can do to get better, but keeping a log is more important than that.
You gotta know when you spent that time on the water, you can't just forget that time that you spent there. There's a reason why everybody says that. Make use of it. Keep it for later in the logbook's a good thing. Frank over at Twisted Fishing TV says, hell yeah, anyone I take gets blasted with random fishing knowledge on the fly. They probably have no idea what I'm blabbering on about. You'd mentioned your tournament fishing. How'd you get involved with Toyota Major League Fishing? Because that's kind of and with all due respect, you're finishing, you said, between what, 20 and 30% of the top?
Yeah, the last 3 years I've been in. Last year I was upper 30 percentile. The year before was 22nd. The year before that was upper 29th. So.
Yeah, and like I said, with all due respect, you and I aren't getting any younger, and these guys that are fishing, they're fishing hard.
Yes, and there's a lot of college ranked guys coming out, and they are good at all the techniques, and they're good at all the new forward-facing sonars and everything else. So, but I like to fish. I like to compete. I jumped up to that level at 59 years old, and the reason I did that is I didn't want to be 75 saying, where would I have been if I jumped into this? I wanted to know where I'm at. And if it ends up that where I'm at is, now this is I finished 5 years. I was on the upper 50% first year, 37 the second, 29, 22, and then 30 this year. If that's where I'm going to be, that's fine. But at least I know that, and you can't take it away from me. I had fun. I've gone there, competed. I'm fully sponsored. I've got great sponsors: St. Croix, AFCO, Sunline, Big Bite, Power Pole, Mercury, Charger Boats. They just all take care of me. Daiwa, and I love to be able to go and represent these companies. Calcutta is my headline sponsor. They pay my tournament entry fees every year. This will be the 6th year that they've done that. I appreciate them. They do so much for the industry. They're actually it doesn't do any good for the consumer for them, because they sell to 15,000 retailers like me across the country in Canada. But they are so good for the environment. They have a foundation that they put money back into the environment and clean, accessible waters. I'm glad to be able to wear their logo on my shirt. And I have every sponsor I have a passion for those companies. I don't just take a sponsor because they're willing to sponsor me, if that makes any sense to you, but I can't do it another way.
It absolutely does to me. You don't want to get associated with someone that you really don't believe in, because you're not doing them any justice as well. And you got probably some of the top of the line sponsors there. So I'd be kidding you if I didn't say I wasn't a little envious. But St. Croix is a hell of and Daiwa even. Oh my goodness. Maybe there's only a couple of companies that I would want to be in that level, but mega kudos to you on the tournament fishing. What's it like being a tournament fisherman? I have no clue.
It's intense. I normally go out. First of all, I'm fishing the Northern Division, so I'm going to Lake Champlain, Thousand Islands, and Potomac River. First one's Lake Champlain in New York in June. I'm dragging that boat and that truck 1,000 miles. I go and I practice for 4 days, but that includes a day of travel there and back. So it's a long travel. I mean, the travel and the commitment that you make to these, and the practice you have to put in, figuring out what's going on at that time. When I started 5 years ago, I had never fished any of those bodies of water. And so I went blind, and I want to learn it myself. I want to figure it out, because the guy that figures out what's working that week is who's going to win the tournament. And I haven't won any at that level at all. I've won, quite a bit. I won a lot more working the lakes around here and places that I fish for on Fox Chain and everywhere else. But at that level, it'll be fun to be able to go there and compete and win. And most of the guys that are winning those tournaments, I've interviewed on my podcast. I mean, the Ron Nelsons and the Mike Iconellis and the Sheffield, Spencer Sheffields, and those guys, Brian Thrifts, they've all been on the program, and I get to fish against these guys, which is pretty neat. Charlie Evans. I mean, I've become friends with a lot of the guys I fish against, but they truly look at me as a media guy, knowing that I write for the Industry Trade Magazine, Fishing Tackle Retailer, and knowing that I do the podcast and having a tackle store. They don't look at me, I think, as a competitor, but they have no idea how much I want to beat them and how hard I work to do it. If I wish I had more time to do it, but I got into it and jumped levels because I fished locally. I gave all that up to travel, to try to compete. It's everybody's dream to try to compete at that level. I asked my companies that I had the passion for sponsorship to help me with that, and they came, to the forward there, and they keep me on the road and they help me with this, and I am thrilled to be able to do it, and proud to represent all those companies. And I'm never happy with where I finish, but I am happy that I'm finishing as good as I am with the amount of time that I get to fish and practice in areas that I had never fished before. But now, going into the 6th season, I fished some of those places 3 or 4 times now. So I'm hoping for better results this year. And I do post those results on my Facebook page, and I do plan on putting on the Dave Kranz Living Wild Outdoors YouTube so that people can follow that. I want to put the practice days on there. I want to put techniques on there. Right now in the store with doing product reviews in the store is not going to be the same as me in the boat where I'm filming it and practicing and showing it. And hopefully we'll have a lot better success with that. And, hopefully that's a reason for people to subscribe and like and share and do all those good things that help us on YouTube channel.
I no doubt in my mind that content that's going to come out of you is going to be, packed full of knowledge and stuff that anybody can use. So I need to address QC Fishing. Brian, how you doing, bud? I talked to I did a live stream from the last fishing expo here in Chicago in Rosemont, and I talked to the St. Croix reps, and they're unfortunately not making the Mojo cat rods anymore. So if you want to get one, get on eBay and go find you some. Good luck with that, though. Creole Catfish said he just bought his dad a St. Croix ultralight for Sakale. You know what Sakale is, David? That's what the Louisiana.
Is that a crappie down there?
Yeah, that's a crappie in Louisiana. That's my buddy Jeremy. He's been dying to get me down there. He keeps picking on me because we got what's called ice up here. He says the only ice he has down there is in his drink. So
yeah, I hear that from guys in Florida too. But I might have 1 or 2 of the Mojo cat rods left in my store. So if the guys,
there you go. Do you ship?
I might have a couple in there.
Do you ship anything out of your store?
I normally don't know because my credit card machine is based on in-person card present. Yeah.
Gotcha. So cool. Maybe I'll have to take a stop in there and take a look at them. But I got like 30 catfish rods, David. I ain't gonna catch
and we're tackle collectors and we're good at it. And you can probably always use 1 or 2 more.
Prices of reels are going up. I was looking at some Shimano Takotas the other night, and they're up there. They're getting there. That supply chain stuff is really, tightening the screws on us. But good tackle costs money, doesn't it? I bought, Luke actually, he's the one that told me to go out and buy that the Icon that I bought from you, rod. And I couldn't be happier. Anytime I buy a St. Croix rod, I'm happy. And if you take care of them rods and they last forever, you're going to get your money out of it. I keep telling people that the higher dollar stuff, if you can afford it, now mind you, not everybody can, is like a Ferrari, and Ferrari you need to take care of. So, but you'll be happy with it.
A lot of different levels of St. Croix though. So you can buy one starting at $100 and you can spend $600 or $700 or $800. But I always tell people buy the most expensive rod they can afford. And many times I'll get high school students that come in, want to get into a bait casting setup. And they want to buy something really inexpensive. And I tell them, I don't sell anything. My entry level stuff is probably mid-grade. Mm-hmm. And I told them you're better off waiting till you can afford something better, because all you're going to do is buy that lower end product, and then you're going to be replacing it in a year and have to buy 2. So buy the better product first and wait a little bit. Wait till you can afford it.
I got one of the panfish rods from St. Croix, which I adore, but I broke the tip off of it, so I need to replace that one. I got a trout one, I got an Icon one, and I think I got a Mojo bass that I use for anything but bass, but that's a long story. And I'm happy with every single one of them rods. I don't think I've ever bought one that I haven't been. So I don't know why I don't have a Mojo cat. I have no idea. Probably because I had a bunch of rods to begin with anyway. So
yep.
But they're good rods. Dan Thompson, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? He's a channel supporter. Got to make sure we shout him out. So Good night, Gabby's going to bed. We got to say good night to the young ones that are future of fishing. So Gabby's a daughter of one of my subscribers. She's always in here. We do jig tying on Panfish Nation. She actually was on there and she was showing us how she tied jigs. So she's moving quite along. She's a pretty accomplished blue cat fisher woman or fisher lady herself. So Creole Catfish brings up a good point. Says if you got $200 to spend, get a $150 rod and a $50 reel. I happen to agree with that 100%. So yeah, how do you, what's your opinion on rod versus reel? What's more important, David?
I think the rod gives a sensitivity and fights the fish, and the reel, you use the drag to absorb what the rod can't do for you. And that's probably a good statement of a good percentage on a rod and reel, if that's what your budget is. If I had, I would spend a little more on the rod than the reel too. But if you can, you definitely get more for your money on the better reels for longevity because of the componentry that's in the reels, more ball bearings, better drags, better materials that they're using. So you definitely get what you pay for. You probably can get to the top level stuff where it's crazy. And do you really need it? You know, I fish with a lot of $200 reels and $200 and up rods. You know, being on the pro staff, that's I don't have to have all $600 or $700 rods and $500 or $800 reels. I get the day in and day out combos for me at $400 to $600, which is a lot of money. But they hold up. The way we use them and how hard we use them in tournaments and how long we use them, they last you a long time. Most reels will last at least 5 years, providing you take care of them. Don't put them in the dirt. Make sure that you're not getting sand in them. Salt water is the kiss of death if you don't rinse it in fresh water, that kind of thing. But take care of these products and you'll get a lot of use out of them. If you're not going to take care of your stuff and you know it, you know, go to the bin of reels I got for $19.99 with one ball bearing and just buy one every year.
There you go. Or buy two and you won't have to stop for 2 years.
That's right. Well, we want them to stop because we want them to come in and get bait and fishing tips and information and where to go and see the new products we have coming in and all those good things.
Yeah. Fish on Luke says mid-range Daiwa spinning reels are crazy in his opinion. So I agree. You can't go wrong with like a mid-range Daiwa or you know, I'm partial to Stratix. It's just me. That's what I've used forever. And I got Stratix that are like 6 years old, and I'd replace them with a cheaper brand or model definitely before that because I use them pretty hard. I'm fishing 3 times a week now. So
yeah, the Daiwa Fuego is probably for in that $100 price point. 100, I think they went to 109 this year. Everything went up, like you were talking about prices and things. But for $109, it comes from 1,000 size to 4,000 size. They make a great reel. It's I think it compares to a lot of people's $150 reel. So take a look at either at my store or any store across the country. Daiwa Fuego is beautiful cosmetics. It's black and red, and it's a great product. As a matter of fact, I think I did a review on it on one of my YouTube shorts, so you can take a look at that.
You know, and you had mentioned about taking care of your equipment and stuff, and one of the tips that I thought was great, which I do every year, was loosening the drag when you're storing your rods for the winter.
Yep,
definitely.
Yeah, you want to back that off. And it's compressed the whole winter, or 3 months, or 4 months. Well, we don't get the pleasure of having open water all year round, and we're certainly not using our open water tackle for ice fishing. So back those off. Also loosen the line off the tension. Like even if you have them, you can put a bend in that rod. It's not that they're glass, although I use a lot of glass rods right now. And I use glass rods because I'm a big I love braided lines, so I set the drag slider. I use glass rods. Anything with treble hooks, I'm not pulling it out. And but yeah, do the maintenance on it. And there is so many videos out there on everything in the world. All you have to do is search it, and you will find it. And the information that is out there for everybody, somebody new to get involved in this, is endless. I think, like you said, you watch stuff every night. You can look at stuff for hours and hours and hours and still not see what you want to do.
but you'll always pick up something that'll come in handy. You know, I don't have regular TV. I pretty much I'm one of them nutballs, Dave. I watch fishing. That's pretty much what I watch. I watch fishing, and I've been watching a little bit of hunting. I've been watching a lot of Meat Eater for the third and fourth time lately. So I've been kind of doing all of that, and for your stuff to stand out really says a lot to it. But I did want to say, you know, on a spinning reel, there's a reason why there's a line keeper on that spool. Cut that line off. You can retie in the spring too. Don't leave
Yep.
that tension on your line and your rod. And I've learned that the hard way. You know, I've stored a $160 rod in the corner of my garage, and then I pull it out in spring and it's got a bend right at the tip. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But it'll happen. So take care of your gear, and it'll take care of you.
Absolutely.
And Bugman says, yeah, he got that tip this year. So he says it's the best tip. So cool. Awesome. So what else you got in store for your channel, David?
Well, I love to cook and wild game cooking. I want to do more of that. In the store, product reviews, mostly getting things rolling, getting subscribers there so that I have a good base so I can do a lot longer, more instructional videos on the water this summer, whether I'm after a guide trip or highlights from a guide trip, or the practice days. I think will be big of how I'm figuring out water, and I'm going to talk about that and be pretty open about it, and show them the results, what's going on in different bodies of water. And even though Lake Champlain, it's beautiful, clear water, it's very similar to many of the places we have that we can fish here. The Lake Geneva, the Big Green up in Wisconsin, Madison Chain. Some of those lakes are beautiful and clean.
Madison Chain is great. I'm right here for like 47 in Algonquin, and I've never fished Lake Geneva.
It's an awesome lake, and you're missing the boat there. You need to get out there.
Yeah, we're going to get out there this year. I'm going to do a little more traveling. So Lake Geneva's and Delvin are definitely on my to-do list. So
yeah, I would put those on.
And speaking of that, how do you attack water that you've never been on, a body of water?
I'm going to give a tip here that I'm sure other people are doing too. But the first thing I do before I go to a body of water is I look at it on Google Earth, and I try to look at times when I'm going to be there, see where the points are, see where weed beds are growing. If you got a summer photo where you can see how far out they go, have a little, view of it before you get there. It's pretty easy to take your phone, go in after you look on your computer, go to your phone, pull up your map on the phone, and you can drop a pin so you can see where the edge of those weeds are, and you'll be surprised how accurate that is. You can drive right to it. And of course, I got navionics on the boat. I'm using Lowrance, so I've got great electronics, but you can get to spots that you want to look at, and then you can search them out. But looking at that, reading local fishing reports, taking a look at past tournament results, many times knowing the anglers that I know, that whether they're a shallow water angler or deep water, or they target smallmouth or largemouth. If so-and-so won this tournament and I'm going to that body of water, I can maybe figure out the types of things they were doing. I don't want spots. I want to know a pattern. That's more important to me, figuring stuff out. But the most important thing is when you get there, have a plan before you get there. Not just put the boat in and say, okay, where should I go? I already know what I want to go look at and what I want to check on a brand new body of water. First time I fished the Potomac, that was the first tidal water I fished. And first year, it was pretty intimidating. And then I figured out that it wasn't a whole lot different than fishing the Mississippi River when they opened the gates at the locks and dropped at 8 inches. It's like that. They drop into troughs. They drop into areas that have deeper water, and it doesn't have to be 6 or 8 feet deeper. It can be 15 inches deeper or 12 inches deeper, and they go pull into those areas. So it's a learning curve, but I think the most important thing, keep an open mind and don't get stuck on what you've done somewhere else. Try to figure out what's working there, and then put some time on the water and go fish.
Well, that's one of the things I've definitely learned fishing the Fox River here, because we know that the Fox River is not very deep, but half a foot, a 1 foot drop makes a difference. So you're going to find fish in those, what you're calling troughs, or those changes in depths and stuff. I use a lot of textbook tactics, points, drop offs, ledges, things like that. Structure, obviously, you know, and using, I need to use Google Earth a little more than I do. But that's definitely something. And Creole says Google Earth Pro says it's an amazing tool. So
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, using the bank as a telltale sign too, on whether it's impoundments or whether it's natural lakes. I remember the first time I went to Grand Lake, Lake of the Cherokees, for a tournament, and we had qualified for a championship there. It was a huge body of water. But if you look at the bank and you see those higher banks, and then they go down and they dip, and you got the flats, it's going to be flat out in front of that flat area. It's not going to drop steep. It's going to drop steep where you have those high walls, and you're going to have creek channels, and you're going to have bridges, and you're going to have current. And current can be important too, not only because of current from streams flowing in, or it's a river, from wind. Wind produces current. So keep that in mind too.
I always say fish yesterday's wind. That's
pushing the bait to that other side, isn't it?
Yep. I'm a firm believer in that, and it's served me right. That's one of those tips that, you know, Mr. Zink and my grandfather taught me. So those things, you know, they learned before there were even, you know, fish finders and stuff, whether they were fishing from a rowboat at 14-foot ranker, or even Mr. Zink had one of those fish finders that had the thermal paper in it. I remember he was so excited when he got that, David. He was showing it off to me. Holy smokes. I'm having flashbacks again to the good old days. Old school stuff. But you know, I just recently purchased forward facing sonar, and I've been getting a little bit of flack from some of my close friends and stuff. But you know what? I'm 53 years old. I know how to fish. I know how to find fish. It's time to find more fish, is the way I'm looking at it. So
there you go. I have not gone to it yet, and I still fish kind of old school, and because of it, it's created opportunities for me, because I would say 90% of the guys I'm competing against on Toyota are using it, and they're going after those open water fish, and the targets that you can see and the cover that you can see, or the cover you can find in shallower water and weedier water where you find open patches. They're not looking for anymore, because they're playing a different game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
They're leaving the fish to you. They're out there chasing the other ones, and you're in the older spot. So good, probably a good tactic going. David Martin, what's going on, David? He just dropped a link to usafishmap.org. I guess that's another resource you folks can use too. So, David, we're coming up here on an hour, man. I want to really thank you for coming on and spending some time with me and talking with the people in chat and stuff. I hope I know they're going to leave with something, and the people listening on the podcast. You guys do David a favor and thank him for the time by going over to his YouTube channel and give him a sub. I guarantee you're going to learn something that you didn't know. And if you knew it already, give him time. He'll figure it out. He'll get you something that he didn't. And I'm going to say thank you to Uptown Chrissy Brown. She's been a member for 20 months. Thank you so much, Chrissy. Hope you guys are feeling well. David, anything else you want to say before we go? Any plugs or anything?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully people do continue to learn from watching from the YouTubes. I'm having a blast doing it. I'm trying to give the best information I can. 50 plus years of knowledge. I just appreciate the platform to be able to give some of it to people that have a passion for the outdoors like I do, and I want to help them live their wild outdoors like I have my whole life.
Cool. And people are saying they're already subbed to you, so that's good. Everybody's saying great show. So thanks again, Dave. Don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, have a great night. I appreciate you being here. Thank you again. I apologize for not having a show last week. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you're not going to notice it because I'm kind of a couple of weeks behind, but we'll get you guys all caught up. Thank you again, everybody. Good night. God bless. And thanks for the super chats, everybody. You guys rock. Have a great night.